The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, June 5th, 2019. And we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443. And let's see, we seem to be having a little bit of audio goofing. Okay, there we are. Okay, so little tech issues we got to deal with. Anyway, it's Wednesday, June 5th, 2019, middle of the weekdays, hump day, starting that long, slow glide down to Powhatan Friday. So let's get right on into it here. Today is the anniversary of the day that Robert Kennedy was shot. And, of course, he was declared dead. Tomorrow would be the anniversary of that. Apparently, he lingered on quite a while, and he was shot in the back of the head by a man supposedly 10 feet in front of him. And, of course, there's a lot of reasons to think this was just another in a long series of assassinations that we have seen throughout the history of this country. And there was suppression of witnesses. I remember this story I want to share with you when I was still living in Los Angeles, and I was dealing with this law firm, if you will, and the secretary at the law firm, her husband was LAPD. And while I was waiting to see the lawyer, we got to talking about the Robert Kennedy assassination. And she was saying, oh, yeah, there was something so funny about that. You know, they recovered more bullets from that pantry than could actually fit in Sirhan's gun. Then there was the lady in the polka dot dress and all kinds of other things. There was that young man who was studying to be a photographer, was in the pantry, took the only photos known to have been taken during the assassination itself. They were confiscated by the LAPD. When the case was declared closed, the kid went to get them, and the LAPD basically said, well, you can have these back, but we're keeping the rest. And the photographer basically made a big stink, and then they said, oh, well, they've been sent up to Sacramento, and the stink continued, and Sacramento said, oh, well, they've been misplaced, we can't find them. So the photographer sued the state of California for the estimated value of these photos, because they would have been worth, for who knows, millions, you know, to the print media or TV media. And then all of a sudden, magically, the photos were found, the negatives were found, rather. So Sacramento gave them to a courier to fly them down to Los Angeles to deliver to the photographer. And the courier got into Los Angeles International Airport, was driving away, discovered one of his tires was flat. And you're going to love this next part. He pulls into a gas station to get the tire repaired, and then he goes to use the bathroom, leaving the briefcase on the seat of the car with the car unlocked. So you can imagine everybody's shocked when he comes on back and the briefcase has been stolen. So that's one of my favorite stories out of the Robert Kennedy assassination. All right, getting back on over to London and Donald Trump's visit. They had the Baby Trump blimp, and it was actually deflated by a Tommy Robinson supporter, and she live streamed herself doing it. She basically poked a hole in it with a pair of scissors, and then got away from the anti-Trumpers. The police caught up with her and arrested her for possession of a sharp weapon. So the laws over there in Great Britain are very strict. You can't even carry scissors in public. So meanwhile, a lot of people are starting to look at this state visit and tallying up the costs, and it was very costly for the U.S. taxpayer. Apparently, this 3-day visit cost millions of dollars on luxury hotel suites. Now, this is over and above the cost of Air Force One and all of its other ancillary aircraft flying across the Atlantic. And according to contracts placed by the U.S. State Department, those accompanying Trump were staying at a number of exclusive high-end London hotels. So nothing like the best here. Over in Ukraine, their new president, Volodymyr Zelensky, said yesterday he was ready to negotiate with Russia to end the war in eastern Ukraine, while sticking to Ukraine's goal of one day joining the EU and the NATO alliance. Now, these two agendas seem to be in a little bit of a conflict because the NATO's agenda is to keep the hostilities going along that border. And he's even getting some flack from the hardliners in his own government, like Dmitry Yarosh, the commander of the Ukrainian Volunteer Army, basically came on out and said, if Zelensky makes peace with Russia, he will be assassinated. Okay, we're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network. And turning now down to Cuba. As you know, the U.S. government is trying to put pressure on Cuba because Cuba is still doing business with Venezuela. In fact, they're rather dependent on the oil they get from Venezuela. And so the Trump administration has now banned all U.S. cruise ships from docking in Cuba. And of course, it's the most popular form of U.S. travel to Cuba. And this basically is going to be an economic hit on Cuba. And it's just all about cutting off all possible sources of cash to Venezuela until they surrender and accept the U.S.-approved puppet ruler. Okay. Over in the Express in Great Britain, they've gone back to that canard, if you will, that Iran is just 6 months away from nuclear weapons, that Israel will be targeted, and yeah, I mean, Israel has been saying Iran is just weeks away from nuclear weapons. They've been saying it for 30 years. And when the IAEA went on in there, both before and after the P5+1 deal, they said, no, there's no weapons development here. They're making fuel rods for their power stations. They're creating medical isotopes, products like industrial destaticers, and other peaceful uses of nuclear technology. There is no evidence of weapons development whatsoever. But apparently this is the new propaganda push, like we haven't all heard it before. And Trump came out and announced today he's ready to talk with the leadership of Iran about the nuclear weapons. And that's going to be a short conversation because Iran is going to say, we don't have any. We never did. Now, the real issue, of course, is that Trump pulled out of the P5+1 in order to force Iran to renegotiate a new deal, which would not only include the suspension of nuclear activities, but the abandonment of its long-range ballistic missile program. Iran's Khamenei is saying that no, Iran will not abandon its missile program. And the reason is they want weapons of deterrence. And they're not going to surrender. I mean, the P5+1 deal was easy for Iran to go along with. They didn't have nuclear weapons. They weren't building nuclear weapons. But they do have a missile program. And the long-range missiles can strike at U.S. and Israeli targets all across the Middle East. And they're not going to give them up, because those missiles are a reason for the United States and Israel not to invade. Now, over at Global Research up in Canada, they're talking about how Trump's bellicosity is selling weapons. And yes, right now the weapons makers are having, it's the only part of our economy that's booming right now. But the world is watching Trump, and they're beginning to sympathize both with Iran and the Palestinian cause. World opinion is turning against Israel. Israel is fighting very hard to try and stop that. But it's basically the world is turning against the United States government as arbiter of who the good guys and bad guys are. Story coming on out of immc.org talking about the lack of clean water in Palestine. Now, back in 2010, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution declaring that access to clean water and sanitation is a human right that is essential for the full enjoyment of life and all human rights. And yet, Israel, trying to keep Palestine dependent and therefore under their control, strictly limits the amount of water that's allowed into Palestine. And the water dependency is a centerpiece of Israel's strategy to keep the Palestinians under control. Now, another report prepared by Israeli experts is saying that the collapsing water, sewage, and electric infrastructure in the Gaza Strip pose material danger to Israel's groundwater, seawater, beaches, and desalination plants. This was coming out of Haaretz, and the study was prepared by scholars from Ben Gurion University and Tel Aviv University for the environmental organization EcoPeace Middle East. And what they're basically saying is that Israel's deliberate reduction of the supply of electricity to Gaza is that the sewage plants aren't operating efficiently, and thus 70% of Gaza's untreated sewage goes straight into the ocean. And of course, it's polluting the ocean off of the coast of Gaza. And as the Mediterranean currents swirl it around, it's going up the coast of Israel. So, anyway. Another article, this one out of Middle East Monitor, and it's basically talking about the fact that Israel still thinks it's above international law and continues to act like it. Now, the Chief Military Advocate General of the Israeli Army, Sharon Efek, and the U.S. Department of Defense General Counsel Paul Ney shared a platform at the International Conference on the Law of Armed Conflict, which took place in Israel between May 28th and 30th. And the panel, the audience, was saying it was some of the most misconstrued interpretations of international law ever recorded. It was as if Afek and Ney were just making up their law on warfare and armed conflict with no regard to what international law stipulates. And unsurprisingly, they both agreed that Israel and the U.S. are totally blameless in all their military conflicts, and they'll always be united against any attempt to hold them accountable for war crimes by the International Court of Justice. And you had Benjamin Netanyahu's anti-ICC position was stated last April, and Donald Trump virulently expressed his contempt for the global organization and everything it represents. Of course, there is something to remember from the reality of war. Okay, the losers get tried for the war crimes. Now, out in California, the Anti-Defamation League and the Jewish Public Affairs Committee have been lobbying the University of California and the Cal State University system, and generously gave them a $1.2 million legislative grant for what they call anti-bias training on campus. But the way the bidding process for the training is set up, it's almost certainly that only ADL will qualify for the grant, and they're going to announce that on Friday. But this is part of Israel's minions, basically trying to hijack the schools and turn them into pro-Israel indoctrination centers. And they don't want anybody else's opinion out there. Apparently out in Skokie, Illinois, an administrator was offering public high school teachers the opportunity to take a summer professional development course called Teaching Palestine. Just 8 days later, the school district retracted the offer in a statement from top administrators apologizing for the hurtful, one-sided nature of this course. All right. Down in Sudan, the death toll from the protests has hit 60. And this is coming from the attempt to disperse the sit-in protest near Khartoum's army headquarters. And protesters have been rallying outside the headquarters in Khartoum to force the Transitional Military Council, which has been ruling Sudan since its longtime leader Omar Bashir was deposed last April, to hand over power to a civilian body. So right now they're living under a military dictatorship. And unfortunately, the military are acting just like that. Now, have you noticed in the American corporate media, there's this amazing double standard where they're out there just lionizing the protesters down in Venezuela? You know, oh, see, they're standing up for democracy and freedom against the evil Maduro. And they're trying to make heroes out of them. But nearby, over in Honduras, the corporate media is demonizing those protesters because Honduras is a close U.S. ally. And President Juan Orlando Hernandez is a U.S. puppet. So they're trying to protect him here. Meanwhile, Lindsey Graham is out there still stumping for war with Venezuela. And he was on a TV interview recently, and he was saying, you know, here's the deal. We are being tested in North Korea, Iran, Syria. Assad is going into Idlib now. There's a lot of pressure on the Trump administration. And Trump said rightly, Maduro is not the legitimate leader of Venezuela. The entire region supports the Trump approach that Guaido is the legitimate leader. He wouldn't be in power without 6,000 or 7,000 Cuban security forces in Venezuela. So Graham went on to say, I would do exactly what Reagan did. I would give Cuba an ultimatum to get out of Venezuela. If they don't, I would let the Venezuelan military know you've got to choose between democracy and Maduro. And if you choose Maduro and Cuba, we're coming after you. This is our backyard. And that is a statement we have heard in U.S. foreign policy every time they regime change or invade a Central or South American country. Oh, this is our backyard. Well, then what are we doing in other countries' backyards on the other side of the globe? Like, for example, the Persian Gulf or off the coast of China, because that's their backyard. So a little bit of a double standard. Now, earlier this week, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal, and it was picked up and tweeted by Donald Trump, that Moscow had pulled its people out of Venezuela, that Venezuela couldn't pay for the weapons and training they were getting. And it turns out this is just more fake news. It's more bovine excrement. And Putin responded to it angrily yesterday. Today, the Kremlin is saying the Russian specialists operating in Venezuela are operating as usual. The training is continuing. The weapons are still going on in. So we get lied to so much these days. And it's no surprise the corporate media ratings continue to decline. We've got a little bit more about that later in the show. Now, somebody managed to get to Brazil's right-wing president, Jair Bolsonaro, because before he had been indicating he supported Maduro. Now, all of a sudden, he's done a 180, and he's accepted the diplomatic credentials of Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido's envoy to Brazil, which amounts to formally recognizing her as the ambassador of the neighboring country, and that's Ambassador Maria Teresa Bellandria. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy, but I must admit lately I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. And first of all, again, a heartfelt thanks to everybody who is supporting RBN and WhatReallyHappened.com to keep us going in this time where we're just facing a tsunami of lies to try and trick us out of our money, our obedience, and into wars. And it's a very dark time. So again, thank you very much. Second of all, we had a caller who called in yesterday and said that every time he hears the listen folks things, that he turns down the volume. Well, it is a pre-record, so it's not like, at some point we'll re-record it, we'll rewrite it, re-record it. Anyway, the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can call in a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. So the network thanks you, and I thank you. And if it weren't for you, who knows, we might not be here. All right, getting on back to the international news here. There's this article that came on out from the original antiwar.com, and it's talking about how there are forces attempting to crank up a new Cold War, this time with China. And then they're already working on a Cold War with Russia, and they want a Cold War with China. And if you recall the days of the original Cold War, it was with both Russia and China, and they were our enemies. And it wasn't till Richard Nixon actually went to China that relations began to thaw. It was one of the good things he did, and we should not forget it. But apparently, there's a concerted campaign to demonize China as the new evil empire. And this is coming from the AFL-CIO to the American Conservative Union. They're all beating the drums for war with China. China's not going to invade us. They're not going to attack us. The only threat from China is they're better at manufacturing and infrastructure than the current United States of America. And the U.S. can't catch up, and so the government is pushing for war because they can't think of anything better to do. They're out of ideas. Now, over in North Korea, they're sending a message the U.S. shouldn't try their patience on diplomacy, and that the U.S. must come up with a new approach, quote, before it is too late, end quote. Now, there's no progress being made in talks between the U.S. And North Korea since the failed Hanoi summit, and North Korea is warning that the deals reached in last year's summit may be at risk if the U.S. doesn't start coming up with a new effort to resume talks. So North Korea is saying the U.S. must abandon its demands for unilateral North Korean disarmament before it's too late. So it all comes down to those weapons. The United States is trying to bully countries into surrendering their weapons of deterrence. And we've already seen where that leads. We saw it in Iraq. We saw it in Syria. If you give up your weapons of deterrence, you will get invaded. Now, this is very alarming, and maybe he's just bluffing, but this is being reported over at Zero Hedge. Apparently, Trump had this interview with Piers Morgan on Good Morning Britain. And President Trump said that he is prepared for the responsibility of using nuclear weapons. And Piers Morgan asked him if Trump would negotiate with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. Trump said, of course, I've said that, and he said that. I know so much about nuclear weapons, and I see the horrible damage done. I don't want that. And Trump went on to say, I think it's a terrible responsibility, but one I'm prepared to handle. I don't want to have to think about it, but there may be a time where I do have to think about it. The context of this troubles me. obviously, if you are being attacked, you're going to turn those keys into missile silos. But it almost sounds to me like Trump is looking at this in terms of an unprovoked first strike. And Paul Craig Roberts, I think it was last year, was saying there was talk all over Washington, D.C. of, hey, we've got the most nukes. Let's just start using them. And wow, that's a very, very dangerous place to be in. Okay, we're coming up here on another commercial break, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We've got callers waiting on the line. So let's start with Jim in Illinois. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Michael, did I hear you correctly where Donald Trump stated he knows all about nuclear weapons and he might be willing to use them? Was that a correct statement?
Yeah, that's what he said on the Piers Morgan interview, that he knows all about nuclear weapons, which I'm not entirely sure I believe that.
This is a guy who was a draft dodger, not willing to send his own family over there to fight, but yet and still he's willing to use nuclear weapons.
Well, that's what he's saying. Now, maybe it's a bluff to get Iran to back on down, but again, the way it was phrased, obviously, if the United States were attacked with nuclear weapons, the president would have no choice but to respond in kind. In fact, it sort of happens almost by itself. But in the context of the interview, it almost sounded like Trump was saying that he's willing to engage in a first use of nuclear weapons against Tehran.
Is this like Dr. Strangelove?
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, Michael, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to need a drink right now, so take care.
Well, I have to wait quite a few hours before I can join you here because it's, still very early in the day here. All right, thank you for the call. And we have another Jim, this one in New York. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, I think I understand what he meant when he says he knows all about nuclear weapons and he knows how to use them. Let's for example, I have a knife collection. I have swords and machetes and small knives, all kinds of stuff. Now, I think what he's talking about is not bombing any kind of a population center. There is a mountain in Iran, and deep in that mountain there are train tracks and there are nuclear development facilities there. I think what he's referring to is a series or a small number of tactical nukes on that mountain to close it down and cave it in. And I don't think he's going to go after any kind of open military bases or population centers. I have very good reason to understand or to believe that that's what he has in mind. And it's going to be that, I forgot the name of the mountain, but it's there. It's a big nuclear facility, top secret, train tracks coming in and out from the side of the mountain. I think that's what he's thinking about.
Okay, well, first of all, that facility is not top secret. Iran basically announced it, and the IAEA has full access. And yes, what they have in there are some of the centrifuges that they're using to make reactor fuel. But the reason it's inside that mountain is to prevent it from being bombed. And I think in order to get through that mountain and to get to that facility, it's not going to be a tactical nuke. It's going to have to be something pretty big.
Well, I was thinking in terms of the entrances, more or less, with some type of a smart missile coming through the door.
Entirely possible. I don't know that anybody really has a good, clear, shall we say, map of the interior of the mountain, which means that your missile could carom off the side of a tunnel and detonate prematurely, or not detonate at all.
Right. I don't know, but I just believe that that's what he's thinking about when he says he knows all about it, and that's what I think he's saying.
Well, you may be right. You may be right. And certainly that would be preferable to taking out a civilian population center. But the idea that he's thinking about, a first use of nuclear weapons, that gets us into a whole new realm of scare.
That's for sure. That's no question about it.
Yep.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go and switch over to Tony in Puerto Rico. Tony, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Michael. Yeah, Mike, I have a quick question. What newspapers or news do you recommend, that I could read and watch? Something that you would read or something that you would watch. What would you recommend, Mike?
Well, there's no single one. I mean, Claire and I, we go through, all kinds of different sources. Like I've said, Global Research in California has a lot of good stuff. Zero Hedge has a lot of good stuff. There are some bogus websites that are out there that are trying to trip everybody up. So the best thing to do is, have a wide array of sources, read what's going on. When you see somebody making an extreme claim, go for confirmation. We all have to act like journalists used to act. We get one piece of information, it's no good unless there's a confirmation from another completely different source. So, and of course, we have a lot of our readers who email me leads, and we have a lot of members who post to what really happened themselves. But you've got to become your own best analyst.
Yeah, I know that, Mike, but sometimes, you read mainstream media and you think they're like lying to you. I noticed that you watch a lot of Fox News. Is that a good channel to watch, Fox News?
Not really. I have it up here just so I can sort of keep an eye on what's happening right now at the moment. And back during Trump's first year in office, I preferred Fox News over CNN and MSNBC because there was less anti-Trump bias. But Fox News is basically just as bad as the rest of them. So I've got it over here. I've got the closed captioning turned on, and I can sort of keep an eye on what is happening right now.
And what do you think about USA Today?
Again, the corporate media is completely under the control of, first of all, the corporations that own them, and second of all, the government. So again, you have to look at whatever they're saying, and can you get confirmation, or is this just more phony news to try and get you riled up to support a war agenda?
Right. All right, Mike. I'll keep searching. Thank you.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. Yeah, if you become dependent on a single source of news, that source can be compromised, and then you're just going to be fed a lot of nonsense. So, being a truther is hard work. You have to spend hours and hours going through all kinds of different sources and picking out what's real, what's verifiable, what isn't. And we get tricked. We all got suckered by that claim that Russia had pulled their advisors out of Venezuela. But we just have to keep going. Okay, Donald Trump, not too long ago, declared he was going to set up a new branch of the military called Space Command. Sounds like a TV show out of the 1950s. And his nominee to lead the Space Command, or SpaceCom, warned lawmakers on Tuesday there would be substantial challenges in standing up such an arm of the military. Well, yeah, understandably, going into orbit and fighting out in space, it's going to wind up probably being more expensive than any other branch of the military. So Air Force General John Raymond, who currently serves as head of Air Force Space Command at Peterson Air Base in Colorado, basically made his way through the confirmation hearing with little pushback. So it looks like he's going to get the job. But right now, the Air Force's fiscal year 2020 budget request asks for nearly $84 million to start SpaceCom. And that's probably just going to be setting up a command structure and get the administrative stuff put together. Because we know what going into space entails. It entails launching facilities, and it entails some very ruggedly built spacecraft. They not only have to withstand the rigors of launch and re-entry, but they have to survive being shot at by the other side. And again, I think this is a very reckless thing for any country to be doing, because we could trigger a cascade of shrapnel that's destroying all the satellites in low Earth orbit, including the peaceful and benevolent ones that we depend on. And we could encase planet Earth in this impenetrable cloud of debris that will take 100 years to deorbit. And during that 100 years, we're going to be stuck on this planet. No return to the moon, no mission to Mars, no going out to the outer solar system, not even replacing the TV satellites out there in geosynchronous orbit. It's a bad idea. It is a bad idea. Okay, let's see. Turning to our domestic politics, the White House basically issued a directive to their staffers to not cooperate with congressional investigators. But former White House Communications Director Hope Hicks has agreed to turn over documents related to his 2016 campaign to congressional investigators. And this marks a step forward for the House Judiciary Committee in its probes of Trump and his inner circle, with Democrats in the U.S. Congress digging into the campaign, the turbulent presidency, and his business interests. It's amazing. They still want him out of there. He's given the deep state almost everything that they want. Okay. We're coming up here on the House getting ready to schedule a contempt vote against Attorney General Barr, basically for not violating the law. That's really what it comes down to. But the House Democrats, they want the full, unredacted Mueller report. They're convinced there's a hidden bombshell in there that they can use to bring down the president. You know, at this point, I'm ready to lock the doors on both houses of Congress, throw in a bunch of chainsaws, and whoever comes out with most of their bodily parts intact will just do what it is they want to do. Because I'm getting tired of watching all this stuff. It's descended into farce. And it does not present a good image of the United States to the rest of the world at a time when the rest of the world has reason to be very distrustful of the United States. So another article, this one out of Information Clearinghouse. So how did Russiagate begin? And of course, that is what Barr is trying to find out. Where did this all come from? Normally when you have an investigation, there's an accusation. Somebody says, I have evidence that Joe Blow went on over and stole dandelions off of Karen's lawn or something like that. But this Russiagate is the worst and most fraudulent political scandal in American history. And it's caused a lot of damage on America's democratic institutions, including the presidency itself, the electoral process. It's damaged domestic and foreign perceptions of American democracy, not to mention straining relations with Russia. So, another article from Information Clearinghouse. This one's talking about trying to crank up a war with Russia. And the Russiagate tensions and the sanctions that followed basically opened the door to the new Cold War with Russia. And even though Mueller's report showed that Trump and his campaign did not collude with Russia, tensions show little sign of abating. Now, Putin has telegraphed that he would be interested in talking with Trump and trying to ease things down. But there's too much money involved here. You've got this new Cold War with Russia. It's justifying the expansion of NATO right up to Russia's borders, which is making billions of dollars, with a B, in profits for U.S. arms manufacturers. And it's used to demonize domestic critics and independent media outlets as agents of a foreign power. We've all been through that. You know, we're all agents for Russia. Yes. So, and it's destabilizing our society. In fact, it's fragmenting it. And there are too many profiteers out there for whom a conflict with Russia, even if it's just a Cold War, would increase their profits. Okay. Former New York City Mayor and Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani was on Judge Jeanine Pirro's show, And that was last Saturday night. And Rudy came on out with a prognostication that between 3 and 5 of the Russiagate hoaxers are going to be indicted and could easily wind up in jail for this whole Spygate scandal. Other news is coming on out that the spying by the Obama administration on Trump started even earlier than we've been told. In fact, some are saying it started all the way back in 2012 when he hadn't formally declared for the candidacy, but he was just talking about it. Okay. Christopher Steele, the former MI6 agent who authored the Trump dossier, has reversed his prior position. Up until now, he's been saying, no, I will not talk to anybody. I will not talk to anybody. He's finally agreed to meet with the Department of Justice Inspector General to discuss his relationship with the FBI and just how that dossier, with all of its unfounded claims, came to be, which, remember, he assembled on behalf of the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. So this is a 180 shift. And maybe Steele is feeling that the walls are closing in on him. So we'll see what information comes out of there. All right, we're coming up here on another commercial break, and we'll be back after these few words.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. You think Christopher Steele's ready to cut a deal?
It may well be.
Well, this is news, right? You think he's going to live?
We've already seen wet work starting with Seth Rich, and I think we probably should not be surprised if more of it starts to happen, especially if people start cutting deals and start talking out of camp, shall we say, that I imagine there's probably going to be some wet work out there.
I'm looking into this guy. Like this morning, I kind of looked into him because he was on the Daily Mail about this. He's ready to talk. He's been with the Secret Intelligence Service, the MI6, since 1987 until 2009.
Oh, he's a spook,
And,
no question.
Yes, that's a long time. That's a really long time, Mike.
Yep.
Apparently, he's retired. Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's why he was working. He was not working for MI6. He was working for Fusion GPS.
Yep. He even he even had his own private intelligence firm, London-based firm.
Yep.
Orbis Business. Wow. I wish I would have known this about this guy a long time ago.
Well, it's been out there for a while.
Yeah, I can't concentrate on everything. I have a full-time, like your full-time job is this sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it is a full-time job. Claire and I
you're
get up
a
very
treasure
early in the
chest of
morning.
information.
Yeah, it is a full-time job, and I shouldn't, be rough on people who've missed some of the little pieces as they whiz on by.
Well, I don't think you're really rough sometimes, but yeah, I don't think one of two things is going to happen, Mike. I think this guy is either going to disappear or he's the one that's going to take the fall.
He doesn't strike me as a take the fall kind of guy, and I'm not exactly sure how that would work on out because he was working for Fusion GPS, who was working for the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC. So it's not. I mean, what's he going to do? Say, I just came up with this all on my own. Nobody told me to do it. I just made it all up. It was an April Fool joke that got out of control.
Yeah, I don't know, but apparently he worked for the Russian desk for 4 years before his retirement. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. Mike, do you honestly think? I know you said Donald Trump's a weak president. He's obviously a patient man. I don't know whether that's a sign of weakness, but do you actually think, or do you think it's true in stating that Donald Trump is a liar?
Al, we got to take a break for station identification. Stay on the line, and I'll be right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're finishing up here with Al in Canada. And you were asking me you were going to ask me a question about what I thought about something about Trump.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things they're always harping on, that he is a liar. So,
yeah,
politician isn't, but extreme, let's just say.
I don't know how extreme it is, but unfortunately all politicians are liars, and we know that's the case. And we know that a lot of the promises he made on the campaign trail have not been kept, so I would count those as lies. And so, yes, the man's words are not truthful. He speaks with forked tongue, according to Elizabeth Warren.
Yes. Well, I understand that because, that's, like you said, all politicians basically play the same game. Some are a little more desperate than others, but it's just before I leave, it's that, what was that called? Beware of false prophets bearing gifts or something like that.
No, you're blending two. It's beware of Greeks bearing gifts, which has to do with the Trojan War. And the other one is just simply beware of false prophets, which is from the Bible.
Yeah. You know what? I like blending the two. I think I'm going to do that from now on. Thanks a lot for your time, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Al. We're going to let you go and switch over to Terry in California. Aloha, Terry. Welcome to the show. And let me just start off by saying your very generous offer yesterday did generate a surge of donations, and I don't have the actual amount, but I'm told it was a significant uptick. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, Mike, and that's the reason I called. It was a lot of fun, and I want to thank everybody that participated, and also let them know that if anybody wants to do the same the matching challenge that I did yesterday, I'll participate in your challenge. So it was a success, and we went way over. It cost me $200, but that was part of the game. I'd be disappointed if I didn't go over my $200. And once again, thanks to everybody that participated, and that's all I had, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Well, again, thank you very much. It did have a positive impact, and we'll be talking to you again in the future. So let's switch over now to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Mike? I couldn't send you that URL yesterday with the YouTube video, that Russian final because my computer crashed on me.
Oh, that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, but if you get a chance, when you're not busy, check out the YouTube on RT under uploads. It's about 12 or 13-inch final Russian ballistic test. Like I said, I've never seen anything like it before. It's so fast. It's really an amazing thing. But Mike, why I called is that Christopher Steele with worked did that was an investigation firm. He also, I believe that Skripal, that's where he met Skripal. The Skripals are linked to Christopher Steele.
Yes, they
So
are.
this whole Russiagate, but Russiagate and the poisoning's all part of the same plot. It's like a continuating different group of the same actors. Because that isn't it odd, of all people to be linked to Christopher Steele would be Skripal. And it all has to do with the Russian thing and this or that and the fake poisoning and all this other stuff. So I just think that's too much of a coincidence to look the other way, as you say. But
Well, we still have no
I
idea.
wanna,
Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, we still don't know what really happened with the Skripals. Outside of that one interview with Yulia, which was very obviously being controlled, we don't know where they are. We don't even know if they're still alive. And the British government is refusing to allow Russian consulate people to visit with them, which is a serious breach of diplomatic protocol. And again, it looks like there's something so bogus about that story.
It's the same with the GRU, the 12 hackers, and the same with, remember, the 2 Russian bodybuilders who come from St. Petersburg or something. It's all bogus, man. How can you take anything this government says seriously?
I don't.
And the British government. Yeah, but I mean, which leads me to my next thing. I know you're going to talk about this, the stock market being up, but we only added 24,000 jobs in May. So that means all these other numbers are bogus. The unemployment numbers are bogus.
Yes.
Look at, in L.A., Mike, did you read that on the Drudge Report? Homelessness has gone up 15 or 20% or something. I'm like,
yeah, 12%.
something is going on. Yeah. I mean, I don't care if it's Trump or Obama or anybody who's in, all these numbers are rigged.
Yep.
Okay, and Trump actually told us the truth when he was running. This is why I think he owns this economy if it goes down, because he said when he was running, we're in a big fat bubble, and if you look, the stock market region's going up. Do you think they're going to have to lower interest rates, right, to zero now? Which means recession coming, right?
Yeah, recession is coming. Yeah, I mean, the Democrats would love for the economy to have a major correction, because then they'll blame it on Trump and, by extension, all the Republicans. And probably at that point, Hillary's going to say, all right, so maybe it wasn't such a bad thing I lost in 2016. Yeah, I think Trump... Looking at what happened in London for the last 3 days, and of course now he's on his way to France to participate in the D-Day commemorations tomorrow, he loves the pomp of being the president, and I'm not getting a sense that he's really all that serious about the job, that he's just letting his subordinates run the country. And of course each one of them has their own agenda and their own idea, often working at crossed purposes.
And what do you make about the commemoration? They didn't even invite any Russians there. What a slap in the freaking face, man. I'm like, my God. They just totally no Russians were involved in World War II here. I mean, Mike, that's like a slap in the face.
It really is. I mean, technically it's correct. The Russians were not involved in the D-Day invasion, but certainly without the Russians fighting over on the Eastern Front, the Germans would have been able to have more material, more weapons at the Normandy beaches, and could have possibly turned it into another Dunkirk.
Which leads me to my next thing, that Putin's got a better friend. That's why Xi Jinping was in Russia.
Yes.
Doing these trade deals like renminbi and rubles. They're going to be using them for trade.
Yes.
And I think another thing is that Russia said that they were going to taken Huawei into. Did you hear about that? They're going to take Huawei phones and 5G setup in Russia.
Good for them.
Yeah, so we lost out, and I wonder if Trump talked Theresa May or anybody, because she's leaving, out of not using Huawei routers and main, because they're trying to really stick it to Huawei because it's an economic enemy of our guys, Apple.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Mike, that's all I got to say. Have a
All
good
right,
show.
thanks an awful lot, Dustin. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are now open. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. Getting on back to our domestic politics here. Over at The Hill, John Solomon says it's time to revisit the Clinton apparatus and look at the overt appearance of pay-to-play that we saw in the Clinton Foundation to Clinton's ability to sick the weight of the FBI and U.S. intelligence community on a rival nominee. And there was a lot of pay to play. So John Solomon basically says there are 10 questions it's time to ask Hillary Clinton and hold her accountable to. So question number 1, in January 2018, the Senate Judiciary Committee sent a formal investigative request for documents and written answers from your campaign. Do you plan to comply? Question 2, please identify each person in your campaign who was involved with or aware of hiring Fusion GPS, Glenn Simpson, and Christopher Steele. Question 3, please identify each person in your campaign, including Perkins Coie lawyers, who were aware that Steele provided information to the FBI or State Department and when they learned it. Question number 4, describe any information you or your campaign staff received or were briefed on before Election Day that was derived from the work of Simpson, Steele, Fusion GPS, Nellie Orr, or Perkins Coie, and that tried to connect Trump, his campaign, or his business empire with Russia. Please describe all contacts your campaign had before Election Day with the following individuals: Bruce Orr, Nellie Orr, Glenn Simpson, Christopher Steele, former Australian diplomat Alexander Downer, former foreign policy scholar Stephen Halper, and Maltese academic Joseph Mifsud. Next question. Did you or any senior member of your campaign, including lawyers such as Michael Sussman, have any contact with the CIA, its former director John Brennan, current director Gina Haspel, James Baker, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, or former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe? All right. Describe all contacts your campaign had with Cody Shearer and Sidney Blumenthal concerning Trump, Russia, and Ukraine. Describe all contacts you and your campaign had with DNC contractor Alexander Chalupa. Sounds like something Taco Bell makes. The Ukraine government, the Ukrainian embassy in the United States, or the U.S. embassy in Kiev concerning Trump, Russia, or former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort. Next question. Why did your campaign and the Democratic Party make a concerted effort to portray Trump as a Russian asset? Now they're getting into the meat of it, because that's what they were trying to do. And I love this last question. Given that investigations by a House committee, a Senate committee, and a special prosecutor all have concluded there isn't evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, do you regret the actions by your campaign and by Steele, Simpson, and Sussman to inject these unfounded allegations into the FBI, the U.S. intelligence community, and the news media? What is that, a trick question? Of course Hillary's going to say no, she doesn't regret it. She only regrets it didn't work. Now, when I was a kid, which admittedly was a long time ago, and yes, I've got another birthday coming up, which is classified, and businesses, corporations, just avoided controversy, because it would always adversely affect sales and their bottom line. They wouldn't talk about politics. They wouldn't talk about religion. And working briefly in advertising, I mean, it was still that way when I worked in advertising. Today, it's completely different. Corporations are now out there openly liberal and openly attacking conservative customers. Nabisco was mocking customers upset about a drag queen Mother's Day cookie ad. Burger King is encouraging people to throw its milkshakes at anti-European Union populists, which I think counts as incitement to violence. And a beer company advocates hitting such people over the head with a brick. Now, when did corporations stop being about manufacturing a good product at a good price and start saying, we're going to be activists? It's a very dangerous trend here. We may reach a point here where companies like, your local pharmacy, go the route of YouTube and Facebook and simply say, well, we don't like your politics, therefore we're not going to fill your prescription. The precedent has been set. The precedent has been set. Getting on back to our corporate media, their ratings are plummeting pretty much across the board, because they're dealing with a major credibility crisis. Last month, CNN saw a 16% collapse in their primetime ratings. That comes after the network offered voluntary buyouts to 100 employees. CNN's primetime viewers reached only 761,000 viewers. That's abysmal. That is absolutely abysmal. And their total day viewers crashed 9% compared to the same month last year, averaging only 559,000 viewers. Now, CNN's supposed flagship morning show, New Day, only averages 485,000 viewers. And it's because the American people have woken up to the fact that they're being lied to. And if you go back and you look at some of the stuff CNN was pushing, remember when CNN labeled George Zimmerman a Hispanic? He's an Hispanic as being white. Rather minor, but it's on the list. CNN's constant Trump can't win narrative, with them bolstering and pumping up Clinton's poll numbers and her chances at winning the White House. They were really pushing her. CNN propagated that hands up, don't shoot narrative, which turned out to be faulty. CNN played judge, jury, and executioner when it came to Brett Kavanaugh. CNN was fanning up that Covington High School controversy. And last but not least, 2 years of President Trump's supposed collusion with Russia. So, the network's top-rated program, Cuomo Primetime, hit 25th place in the ratings with only 938,000 viewers against Fox News and MSNBC programs. Jake Tapper, CNN's once golden child, dialed it in at 36th place with only 706,000 viewers in his slot. Over at MSNBC, Rachel Maddow has lost 500,000 viewers and has had her worst monthly ratings since Trump became president. Now, Maddow's viewership saw a sharp drop-off after the release of the Mueller report, which debunked the fake news media's claim that Trump colluded with Russia and proved Trump didn't obstruct justice. Before Mueller's report, she averaged 3.1 million nightly viewers. After that, down to 2.6 million. So the corporate media did it to themselves, and that's why more and more people are coming over here to the independent media. And now is the time for all of you listening to this show to make a point of talking to your friends and family and pointing them at Republic Broadcasting Network. to build our audience, because if we can get a larger audience, then we can get more ad revenues, and then we don't have to keep on begging for you to chip into the old collection plate, if you will. So that would be a really good thing. Evangelize Republic Broadcasting and just spread the word. Same thing with whatreallyhappened.com. Help us build our readership. Now, it's been going up, but not fast enough. Definitely not fast enough. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be back after these few words.
Don't regret growing old. It's a privilege denied to many. Heart disease is taking our youth from us. Young people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond are dying needlessly. One of the hardest messages I've ever had to deliver is to convince people that something natural like Extendivite should be taken as a preventative measure. I'm sure you heard an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Extendivite is that ounce. Take Extendivite for 1 year and see what your doctor has to say and how much better you feel. Herbs take time to address the problem. It took years of life to have a problem. Give Extendivite 1 year to fix the problem. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or visit us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And I just got an interesting email. Just a note about Huawei. Our friends from London are coming to meet us for vacation this summer. They were told they could not bring their phones or the TSA would most likely confiscate them. Do not know if they will leave them home or get burner phones for the trip. Boy, that is really serious, serious stuff. Okay, so let's take a phone call. We're going to go to Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Mike, I just heard last few hours that YouTube, we're talking about the mainstream media, how they're losing and all that. Well, YouTube and Google are really talking about, stressing down now and putting more and more so-called hate speech off their off their channel. By hate speech, that could mean anything. It doesn't mean. So what I was going to say is this: we got to stay a step ahead of them. Now, I just went to BitChute. I just got BitChute. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm able to get it on my TV. Like I'm watching you on YouTube right now on my TV, which is pretty nice to be able to do. But I don't think I can do that with BitChute. But still, I got it on my computer. I'll have it on my iPhone. I can listen to it when I'm driving my car, just like I can listen to you. With apps now, you don't even have to worry about the corporate radio anymore. You can get anything pretty much you want. So that's how you beat them. We just keep on going with more and more stuff, and hopefully they will. They're losing customers. They're losing money by the billions now. Facebook, Google, YouTube. Well, YouTube is part of Google, and Twitter. And hopefully we can. I'm trying to figure out how to get back on Gab now again because I was on it, and then they almost, they tried to get them right off the internet, and they got back on. And I'm trying to figure out how I can get back on there again because that would be kind of like Facebook, really. So, and there's also that other thing, DLive. So there are alternates.
Yes.
And we've just got to stay one step ahead of the establishment. And hopefully also, I can't believe they're doing that today, too. Right after they've been notified, evidently there's going to be an antitrust suit against them and against Apple also.
Yeah.
And I love that Supreme Court decision, by the way, against Apple also, So I don't know what they're trying to do, but like I said, we got to stay one step ahead. Patriots got to stay one step ahead of them. Now, I see a lot of gloom on there, too. I went to No More News before with Adam Green.
Yes.
And he thinks, well, this could be the end. Even We Are James seems very upset about this.
Yes.
But it's something to be said in one way, but in another way, it's a victory because it shows, a wounded animal becomes most dangerous. They're wounded now, and they become more dangerous. The establishment is badly wounded. Nobody believes them. Nobody goes to their news channels anymore. The only time I ever go to any kind of mainstream news is if I'm in a car driving or something like that. I want to see what the enemy is having to see because I don't believe a word coming out of them.
Yeah, that's why I have this TV here.
The same thing with the corporate talk stations like the Glenn Becks, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity. These people will just tell you basically what they're allowed, what their corporate heads let them say. And Beck is disgusting. Beck is he's a Christian Zionist, no question about it. He calls everybody an anti-Semite who takes a position, any kind of position against Israel. Today he called Jeremy. I was listening to him earlier today. Just again, once in a while, I like to see what the enemy is saying, and he called Jeremy Corbyn an anti-Semite, and some other people. Anybody who criticizes Israel at all, right away labeled anti-Semite. So this type of garbage we don't have to listen to. There's no need for anybody to get the blaze. Why pay for the blaze when they're not going to? All they are basically pretty much of a neocon network with a bunch of neocons pretty much reporting, including Beck himself. So there are ways around it. We're winning. It goes to show you they're wounded now. They're seriously wounded, and that is striking out. They're trying desperately to do anything they can. But I'm glad for this antitrust, especially against Apple, because now Apple cannot. There may become a time very soon when I'll be able to get BitChute on my TV, just like I'm able to get YouTube. Right now, the only reason I can't is because Apple won't hold the app. So So this is really great news, Mike. People shouldn't lose faith. I think we're winning. I think they're on their last legs. I think we're going to bring this establishment down once and for all. I'm kind of optimistic now.
Okay, a little correction there. We're not bringing the establishment down. It's self-destructing.
Well, yeah, you're right. They are self-destructing. You're right. But we're helping. We're helping too. We're helping by not believing them anymore. We're helping by not going to their propaganda stations. That's all the news channels are. That's all the cable news and the rest of the news pretty much is. I also...
Okay, Mark. Yeah, got to put you on hold. Don't hang up. I'll come right back to you after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Mark in North Carolina. We're talking about the very obvious signs that we're starting to see the dissolution of our society, and the establishment is basically eating itself. And I mean, I think to any objective observer, this is an empire in decline.
Yeah, Mike, it was funny too because you were talking about corporations now with their attitudes, like you mentioned Nabisco and Burger King of all places. This is just like junk news. This is junk food. I don't eat this. I hope most people don't eat this crap anymore. I don't eat Nabisco. Nabisco is all genetically modified garbage. If I want cereal, I get organic, whole grain type of cereal, not maybe made with I don't know, wheat, if not wheat germs, like oats and like I said, I don't go with that kind of food anymore, and I hope a lot of people don't. So they talk about you get junk news.
Yeah, but I want to comment on that. We're reaching a point here where we no longer have the choice, because the GMOs and the chemical processing have taken over so much of the food supply. It's becoming more and more impossible to find unadulterated food. And
it is, but you can get organic. You still can get organic. You got to know where it's coming from, though. And I'm hoping at some point we're able to start getting some of this Russian food, because Russia has promised they're only going to export organic food now, and they don't have any of this GMO garbage, and a lot of other countries don't have it either. So I'm hoping that we can there's ways that we can totally avoid it. Now I don't 100% avoid bad food, but for the most part I do. For the most part I buy organic stuff. I'm not it doesn't cost me all that much. It doesn't cost me that much more than if I eat the garbage food, I'd have to eat a lot more, because it doesn't fill you up as quick.
Yep.
And all it does is makes you fat, makes you sick, sluggish, and just doesn't do anything good for you. It's not real food, and it's like I said, you got to load up on tons of it because to get any kind of a nutrition out of it, because it's mostly fat and junk. So let them keep it up. Let them keep on doing it. We will win eventually. The people are going to take this garbage down. We're going to get our constitutional democracy back, constitutional republic back. We're going to bring down this empire, Mike. I'm confident of it, because you can see they're desperate. Unless they try to drop the hammer now and maybe, use a biological weapon or get us into a nuclear war, which unfortunately is possible.
Yes.
But unless they're
either one,
something like that, and I don't think the nuclear war, of course, is going to kill them too. So
no, they've all got bunkers. They've all got their bunkers.
That's what I told you that before. What we should do, if it really looks imminent, surround these bunkers. The minute they go into those bunkers, maybe as the missiles are still flying, kill them. Kill them before they're able to get in.
I have a better idea. I have a better idea. Let them go into their bunkers and lock it all down, and then we cement over all the hatches so they can't get out again. Sooner or later, down in the depths there, they're going to run out of air, or maybe they're going to start running out of food, and they'll start eating each other, and I think that would be a fitting end for them.
You got a point there. I'd kind of like to see the patriots get into those bunkers instead, so whoever may survive and start societies anew would be decent patriots that love their countries. It wouldn't only be the United States, but space, it would be other countries too. Russia would be destroyed also. But I don't think there'd be much left of the planet. So at least some decent people would survive, if anybody could survive, and crawl out of those bunkers, instead of these hideous criminals that caused the problem in the first place. Wouldn't you think that would be better, Mike, or what?
Well, again, we're talking about, a real dark view of our future, and I'm hoping that we can avoid it, because I think if they stop and think about it, a nuclear war or a biological war, they could come up out of those bunkers to a totally dead world incapable of supporting life. And then they start eating each other.
The problem is, you're right, but the problem is we're not dealing with rational people. A lot of these people, I think, are on drugs. Some of them are convinced they can turn themselves into robots and then rule like that. There's all kinds. You got out and out madmen running these tech companies in high positions of our government, in other high corporate positions. So I don't know, Mike. We have to be very careful not to let a nuclear war start. I thank God at least Russia has a rational leadership there in Putin. Okay? Otherwise, the nukes might have already been flying. That's all I got to say, Mike. Other than that, that's pretty much it,
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. And we're going to switch over to Joe in Tennessee. Aloha, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, Putin is very rational, and it's a real disgrace that he wasn't invited to the D-Day ceremonies. I don't
agree.
think that was Trump not inviting him. I think that was the British, because they really have a hard-on for Putin. Because all those oligarchs and those banks that were raping the Russian people under Yeltsin, Putin put an end to that and sent most of them back to London, where they're still probably plotting ways of making him look bad and demonizing him and trying to attack him and kill him.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Given that the D-Day commemoration takes place in France, isn't the French government basically in charge of the festivities? So wouldn't it be somebody in the French government who said, don't invite Putin?
Well, that's tomorrow. Yeah, today's was the ones in England, in Portsmouth. And then they're going to have another ceremony tomorrow in France, and I don't think Putin's invited to that one either. The interesting thing, though, is Merkel was invited. The leader of the enemy country that we attacked was there. She was on the podium there with Trump and the Canadian guy, Trudeau, and all of them. There's Merkel. And I just thought that was kind of strange that you have Merkel there because she's a socialist and a part of the New World Order. But you don't have Putin, who was our ally, but that's because he's a nationalist and he's pro-Christian. So, it's all pretty obvious, once you look at what's really going on to see, and it's when you think about all the people that the Russians lost in that war.
Oh, yeah.
And they were our ally. It's a real disgrace, and it's such pettiness, and then when you look at the reasons why they really hate Putin, they're all like good reasons, but they hate him because he's actually done good things. He's stood in the way of the oligarchs and the big banks from raping Russia. He's nationalized a lot of the things in Russia where he didn't let them get stolen from the Russian people.
Yes.
He's brought masculinity back into vogue. That's another reason they hate Putin, because he's a man's man, and they don't like that. He's trying to get Russians to have more children, which they don't like neither. Now, God forbid we have more white children. You don't know. Flood your country with Syrian refugees and Afghanis. That's what the New World Order wants. They don't want the Russian people repopulating their country. No, you can't have that with the, says Merkel and all these George Soros types. And I just I personally like Putin. He's hated by all the groups that I hate. The gays hate him. Hollywood hates him. A lot of, the bankers hate him. The lefties hate him. And I think Trump personally would get along great with Putin if they didn't have this cloud overhanging him that Hillary and the deep state cooked up about him and the Russians. It's a real shame. If there's one big disaster that's happened, and I think Clinton should be strung up for treason just for what she's done as far as our foreign policy with Russia. How far advanced we could be right now as far as world peace and Syria and even Iran, if this whole Russian charade, sore loser Hillary, was never perpetrated. It's a disgrace, and I curse her for whatever remaining years she has for what she's done to this country in that regard. All the other stuff is really not as important as what she's done. She single-handedly destroyed our relationship, Trump's relationship with Russia.
Yes.
And demonize the nuclear power. I mean, she is such a witch. She really is just such an evil person. It's hard to to get a grasp of it or to even express it. But really, what a nasty person. The other thing I wanted to talk about was
before we go any further here, I want to back up to where you talk about stringing Hillary up, and I'm absolutely opposed to that. My idea would be to get her into a very comfortable prison cell, where, it's comfortable. And over in the corner is this loudspeaker that just keeps repeating over and over again, "You lost, you lost, you lost."
Yeah, that would, she just can't handle losing, can she? I mean, the thing is if you look at like all the most, the worst traits of women, when you look back in history, like the worst women that have ever existed, they all had like similar traits,
Yes.
They just, the vindictiveness, pettiness, Hillary really encapsulates it all. You can read Shakespeare. She gets a little Lady Macbeth, and you can just take all these, all these rotten women throughout history, and there's just something about like a deranged, the deranged feminine that she just represents to me. And I think that in a way, what I see happening is the Democratic Party is becoming like the feminine party, where it encapsulates all the rotten traits of the female qualities. And I just noticed that. And Trump, although whatever you want to say about Trump is very masculine. He's a masculine man. He's a man's man, really.
Yes.
I mean, he seems to be looking younger as president. I've seen the presidency wear down Jimmy Carter and George Bush and Obama, but Trump looks just like he did when he was inaugurated. He looks great, considering all the stress and pressure he's under. So, but I got to say, I'm really looking forward to the Democratic primaries. I think that watching what Bernie Sanders did today in Arkansas at the Walmart meeting was truly classic. I mean, I don't agree with him, but he showed that for an old guy, he's got some moxie. I mean, he goes there, and although I don't agree at all with anything he's got to say, you got to give him credit. Now, Joe Biden's in hiding. Joe Biden looks like an old man. Joe Biden's mind is like an old man. They got him under wraps like they did Hillary towards the end of the other campaign. I don't think the Democrats want a redo of the fact that Hillary had no energy. She was physically sick. She looked like haggard, and they're going to get that if they go with Biden. So although Biden's the front runner and CNN's putting out these fake polls that he's winning in Texas and all that, I can't see him even winning the Democratic primary. So I think it's going to be exciting. And watching what Bernie did today, it was brilliant, and I give him credit, although I totally disagree with him. As far as the left does deserve a populist left, and what he did was populist left. So I give him credit for that. I really do. I thought it was a great move.
Well, yeah, and it's going to be an interesting circus, and I'm rather surprised so far that we have not yet seen some of these Democratic contenders start to drop out. And I know they're out there fundraising, and some of them have to be looking at their little campaign war chest and saying this isn't working. But I guess as we get closer to the start of primary season, we'll start to see a shakeout.
Well, I think what a lot of them do is they get in, right, and then they drop out. But when they drop out, they throw their support to somebody who they think if they win, they'll give them a good, cushy job, as an ambassador. So they're probably like looking around saying, all right, who am I going to give my, Swalwell supporters to, all three of them. But anyway, and they're going to pick, so that's kind of what these smaller guys do. They say, well, I'm going to, they have whenever they say they're quitting, they get to have a ceremony and get on television, and then they give their supporters to somebody else and then hopefully line up a job in their cabinet or something. So that's what I think you'll see pretty quick. And I think they structured the debates so that they really wheel them down fast. So it should be, but I think it's going to be, there is going to be no Republican primary. So, but I do think there's going to be a lot of interesting things.
That's not true. There's already one Republican challenger to Trump, and I'm blanking on his name off the top of my head, but he announced about 2 weeks ago.
Is that Hogan from Maryland? Because I heard he changed his mind already. And then there was William Weld. Right. So, yeah, I don't think there's going to be any hope for them, but I'm just saying that the Democratic primary is going to be exciting. And what's going to be exciting is the manipulators behind the scene, the party itself. Because, the Democratic Party, if they have an open, process, should elect a socialist, a populist almost. So it's going to be funny to watch what they do to prevent that from happening. That's what I'm really watching, because once again, the Bernie today was a brilliant move. So what's Biden going to do to counter that? And then also Elizabeth Warren, and it's going to be actually quite interesting. The whole thing about whether they're men or females, black or white. It's going to be. I got to say, this is going to be pretty exciting, I think.
Yep, it's going to be a circus. All that we need now are the clowns. All right, Joe, I'm going to let you go here.
Okay,
Thank you very much for the phone call. And the phone lines are open again, 800-313-9443. Getting on back to the economic news. And Venezuela has defaulted on a $750 million gold-backed swap with Deutsche Bank. And Deutsche Bank has now seized the 20 tons of Venezuelan gold that were placed as collateral for that loan. And somewhere out there, Hugo Chavez, who several years ago successfully repatriated much of Venezuela's gold, is spinning in his grave. But that was then, and this is now. And apparently Maduro is unable to basically get the Bank of England to return $1.2 billion worth of gold they have in their vaults. And the Bank of England basically said, no, we're not going to return it. And they're saying this comes after top U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and National Security Advisor John Bolton, lobbied their UK counterparts to help cut off the regime from its overseas assets. In other words, they all got together and said, yeah, we're going to steal the gold. Won't that be fun? We'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold, arms and or legs often go to sleep, sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe, short walks cause cramping or pains in legs, memory is not as good as it used to be, ankles swell late in the day, chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about the economic news. And gold is actually doing very well. It's had 5 days of gains. It's holding at $13.40 an ounce. And there are some experts out there saying it could break $1,400 per ounce. So for those of you who bought in low, might be an opportunity there. Okay, President Trump's efforts to force China to what they laughingly call fair trade, along with sanctions and tariff threats, it looks more likely to destabilize the unipolar U.S. hegemon than to support it. And many multipolar supporting nations are now hoarding gold, seeking alternative payment systems, and creating bilateral trade agreements between themselves in an effort to skirt U.S. threats or to defend their own sovereignty. China's been pushing the petro-yuan. Europe is pushing Instex. And apparently the latest shift away from the U.S. system and towards multipolar collaboration is coming from China, where small and medium-sized enterprises under pressure from Washington's trade war are studying the possibility of moving their production up to Russia. So it is a backfire. Now, the United States is starting to scramble to find alternative suppliers of rare earth elements out of concern that China could just embargo them immediately at any time. And these are these 17, just give me a second here. Message from the wife on the watch. Okay, so there are these 17 elements like lanthanum and terbium, and they're used in everything from the production of computer screens to missile systems, mobile phones, even those windmills that the environmentalists love so much that chop up the birds. They take a lot of this stuff. And so the U.S. is trying to find alternative sources, but really 90% of the rare earth elements are coming out of China. There's nobody else out there that can match that volume. However, there is a new development because apparently 2 rare earth mineral processing companies down in Australia have announced a joint venture that will establish a rare earth ore processing plant in Hondo, Texas. And so it's Lynas Corporation, an Australian rare earth processor, and Blue Line Corporation, a chemical company which is already based in Texas, agreed to a partnership to see that U.S. companies have continued access to rare earth products by offering a U.S.-based source. Now, there are some rare earth element mines inside the United States. I imagine the prospectors are already out there getting a grub stake and heading into them thar hills to stake their claim. We got to take a break for commercials. We've got a caller waiting on the line, and we'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network,
where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go back to the phones to Tom in Florida. Aloha, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good day to you. Yeah, Michael, what's on my mind? You just brought up Texas. Now, Quinnipiac poll is saying that Biden's ahead of Trump. Well, what do they expect? They keep letting all these illegals into Texas. You know they're going to flip that state from a red state to a blue state.
Yes.
Republicans should be ashamed of themselves. Speaking of Texas, they know that I heard they had some guy on yesterday, Michael. I don't know if you had a chance to see it on Fox News. He's saying they're building like 42 miles of wall in a 3-month period. And a lot of it's being funded by private donations. You heard about that?
Yeah, I've been hearing about that.
I can't remember the gentleman's name.
I think that's the only way this wall is going to get built, is by private donation and private, private activists. Because, we're seeing Congress and Trump battle each other over this whole thing. And it's just a huge mess down there on the border. They're already running out of money there. In fact, I'm looking at this story from the Washington Post. Apparently, they're so short of money down there on the border, the U.S. has been forced to cancel English classes, recreational programs, and legal aid for the unaccompanied child migrants. And
yes, Michael.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, Michael, on the news, on One American News Network today, they were saying in L.A. County, there's 42 kids per classroom. That's how bad it is. San Diego's the same way. San Diego, L.A. are overwhelmed. They're just overwhelmed with the kids. And they said something about their kids sleeping on bus benches and all this. But, Michael, getting back to Joe Biden now.
Yeah.
This guy's son was taking $55,000 a month from the Chinese. And
Yep.
and they're worried about Donald Trump and Russia collusion, when the Chinese are the ones that are really our enemy. They're the ones that really want to take the United States down. It's not Russia, it's China. And you got Biden's son not being investigated for $55,000. Who makes $55,000 a month, Michael? I never heard of that.
Well,
I mean, this guy Biden is a nutcase. He said he walked in the Civil Rights March, which even CNN was mocking him on that one.
Yes.
I mean, this guy is a fruitcake. He grabs kids, and these guys winning Trump in the polls in Texas. Come on, this Quinnipiac is the same one that said Hillary is going to win by 80%.
True.
It's the same poll. I remember 2 weeks before the election. No, Hillary's got it in the bag. Hillary's going to win the election in the last landslide. Quinnipiac. Who the hell? Who are these people? These morons. And then you got Biden's son not being investigated for getting fit. How much tax did Biden and his son paying that money from China?
Well, it's a valid question, but China, it's not just China. I think Biden's son. There was another deal, I think, with Ukraine.
Yes.
And all of it, of course, when Biden was vice president.
Yes, Michael. They did have on the news today that Donald Trump, the judge, ruled in his favor for the wall. So I think I heard today on One American News is saying he's going to get $6.2 billion for the wall, or 6.4 for the wall, and he can get that money immediately to start funding the wall. So I guess that's a plus for him on that. So I
Well,
heard
that's
that
a
on
plus
One
on
American
him
News.
for
One
that.
American News is
but-
the only one that tells the truth, Michael.
Yeah, but Congress
That-
is still, especially the House, they're still trying to find some way they can stop it. And the only reason the judge ruled in Trump's favor is the judge basically said, I don't want to get dragged into this mess, that it's really between Congress and the president. And I don't think they're going to give up. I mean, the Democrats are desperate to flood this country with illegal Democratic voters, and they're not going to stop now.
Absolutely. Look at California, Michael. It's gone. Matter of fact, they had an earthquake in Fontana, I guess, and they're saying that's all like agricultural. I mean, they're bringing these people in California by the hundreds of thousands. There's, 7 million illegals in California? And they're screaming out there's no water. And
There's 7 million just in L.A. County.
Yes. And that's not counting San Francisco and probably San Diego. I don't know. This is absurd. And, that's the place of Ronald Reagan. And Ronald Reagan, when he did that amnesty, was the worst thing my father used to say to ever happen. When he caved into those 2 million back in 87, I think it was, he gave him an amnesty. And he even said, Ronald Reagan said before he died, that was the dumbest thing he did as a president.
Yeah.
The one thing he regretted doing. But California's gone. It was the land of milk and honey, Michael. It was the land of milk and honey. Now it ain't. Now it's the land of the poop control.
Yes.
Poop and urine control. It's unbelievable what's happened to California. It really is. It's a shameful event. And I'm telling you, Michael, I've been saying this for weeks on your show. Until I see Trump arresting these Democrats from Sanctuary City, I don't believe any of this crap. I really don't. I don't believe anything. Because when they're allowing the aiding and abetting and the sedation of our nation, that is colluding with the enemy. Let's call it what it is. And nobody's being arrested for this. It's like Hillary police bitten her BlackBerry, and nobody did nothing to her. Hillary should be locked up in jail worse than Manafort. Guy Manafort's going to Rikers Island.
Yes. Well,
It's unbelievable what
that's
they're
not
doing.
been confirmed yet. I know it's been reported. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Anyway, listen, Tom, we're going to let you go here. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are rejoining the network, and we're going to go to Sebastian in Sweden. Aloha, Sebastian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, I just want to tell you about the Danish elections. The latest results is that probably the Social Democrats and the Venstre, which is a communist in Danish, it's going to probably get in. But there are two new parties, anti-immigration parties, that came in as well. So now they have a total of about 3 or 4 anti-immigration parties in the Danish parliament. Let me tell you about the Social Democrats. It's a difference in the Danish Social Democrats and the Swedish Social Democrats. The Danish Social Democrats have a really hard line on immigration.
Yes.
But the Swedish Social Democrats, as you know, that they've already brought in the ISIS fighters, and they're thinking about rehabilitating them.
Good
and they'll
luck on
probably
that
end up,
one.
Yeah, exactly. They'll probably end up in some daycare center somewhere. But it's that's the way the difference in the Swedish and the Danes are, the political parties. It sounds like the same, but the Danish Social Democrats aren't like the German or the Swedish Social Democrats, like Merkel, And another thing I want to talk about is that Tom was talking about Biden, and I think that he's not a good candidate. I hate to say this, but I have a bad feeling that Hillary Clinton is coming in again.
Yeah, I mean, she's making a point of getting on out there and getting as much face time and TV time as she can. That's not how somebody who's retiring from politics behaves. I mean, she's out there. What, she's the keynote speaker at a cybersecurity conference? I mean, what a joke that is. But it gets her face out there. And, of course, every place that she goes and speaks, all she does is bash Trump. So, yeah, I'm very concerned that she's going to try and step back in, and I'm going to have to back Trump again.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. And the phone lines are now open. So getting on back to the economic news here. And there's an article that came out of Russia Insider which really gets to the nitty-gritty about why there's all this hostility and Russia bashing and China bashing. Basically, Russia and China are lining up partners for this massive Eurasian trade network. They call it the One Road, One Belt, but the ultimate plan is there are going to be multiple lines that just crisscross over Russia and over Asia that are going to link the manufacturing facilities in Asia with the markets in Europe. And the products are going to get there much faster, much cheaper. The United States can't compete with that. And that's why there is all this hostility. The United States is desperate to drag the world back to the post-World War II years where everybody's trade went through the US dollar and was being shipped around the world on US-flagged, US-built cargo ships and tankers. That world doesn't exist anymore. Story coming on out of Zero Hedge here talking about a new robotic warehouse. Now, Amazon is already doing this, and it's going to disrupt the labor force. So down in Atlanta, which is a major warehousing center in the United States, they have opened this new robot-powered warehouse in McDonough, Georgia. It's undergoing pilot tests and will begin operations sometimes later this month. And it was built by Project Verde, which is a startup trying to compete with Amazon. And it's responsible for automating the warehouse. But we're looking at automation could eliminate 20 to 25% of current jobs. That's 40 million displaced workers. And of course, this being warehouse work, it's going to hit the bottom 90%, actually the bottom 30% of Americans the hardest. And I know everybody loves the automation idea, and robots are fun. But nobody's thinking about the long-term economic implications. They're only thinking about the next quarterly report to the stockholders. All righty, a new study has found that 10% of Americans now own 70% of all the wealth. It's an increase. Once upon a time, the United States had the largest middle class in the world. But we're headed to a society where there's going to be the ultra-wealthy and everyone else. The system has been hijacked to funnel as much wealth as possible to the very top of the financial pyramid, and that means the rest of us, we are deeply struggling. And when you're just barely getting by from month to month, all it takes is one bad break to knock you completely out of the middle class and into poverty. Now, they're trying to make it look like we still have a large middle class. They've redefined the poverty level downward. So even though last week you would have been considered poor, this week you could say, oh, I'm middle class again. I'm lower middle class, but I'm middle class. Over in Lordstown, Ohio, speaking of the middle class, the laid-off GM workers are fed up with the country's political and business ruling class, saying nobody has our backs. And for months, the community of Lordstown has had to grapple with GM closing the region's assembly plant, which cost 1,600 American workers. And since 2017, GM has laid off about 4,500 American workers across the state of Ohio. So the GM plant closure is also expected to leave more than 8,000 American workers jobless in around Lordstown, as well as cut out about $8 billion in economic activity in the area. Meanwhile, GM has announced it will manufacture new vehicles in South Korea, while GM CEO Mary Barra still plans on idling 3 more manufacturing plants, 2 in Michigan, 1 in Maryland. And that's a slap in the face to the American taxpayer, because remember during the automotive crisis, when GM got bailed out at taxpayer expense. Well, there's gratitude for you. You know, thanks for the handout. We're back on our feet. We're going to close all the factories and go someplace else. Now, the International Air Transport Association has published a new report for global air freight markets. This is sort of the aviation equivalent of the Baltic Dry Index. And this report is showing demand plunged 4.7% in April over the same time last year. It's another indicator commerce is slowing down. And of course, the trade wars do not help. So getting on back down to that southern border, Trump is threatening a new national emergency in order to enact his Mexico tariffs. And they're saying that Trump may declare a second national emergency to basically to get the tariffs. Well, so far so good. And Trump is saying the tariffs on Mexican imports go into effect next week. Mexico is already threatening retaliation. Interestingly enough, though, there is a major pushback from Senate Republicans who are warning Trump that he could face a veto-proof majority to block the tariffs. Now, again, who has the authority to impose or remove a tariff? I don't think it's Congress. Now, interestingly enough, earlier today, Trump was on TV saying that he believes the president of Mexico will make a deal to avoid the tariffs. Well, that can be interpreted a lot of ways. Trump's original stance was close off your border with Guatemala so that no more can come in or the tariffs will hit. Now they're talking deal, which I'm going to go out on a limb here and say does not involve shutting down that border. Not totally, at any rate, here. And yesterday, the House passed this mass amnesty bill, which will give millions of illegal immigrants a path to citizenship. The American Dream and Promise Act passed the House with a vote of 236 to 187. So now it will go to the Senate. And apparently Trump says if the Senate passes it, he may just go ahead and sign it. And if he does, that basically tells us that all his talk about closing off our border and protecting American jobs and protecting American health, it was just more lies. We are more than 2 years into Trump's administration. We get a lot of talk from the guy. He's great at making speeches. He gets up there and he fires up the crowd, and he's really good at that. What is actually been accomplished? That's the question everybody needs to be asking. Stop saying, oh, Trump is going to do this and Trump is going to do... Don't waste my time. After it's been done, when it is a fact on the ground, when the wall gets built, when the elections are honest, when vaccines are safe, then I'm going to pay attention. Until then, he's back to just being a reality TV star. The White House reality show. And again, showing that the illegals are getting better care from the government than you are. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency is buying 2.2 million diapers to help deliver economic migrants and their young children into America's worksite schools and neighborhoods. So 2.2 million diapers. Boy, I wonder where they're going to pile up the used ones. That's what I want to know here. Well, as Sebastian was telling us, it looks like the anti-immigration parties are victorious, or certainly ascendant, in the Denmark elections here. And the fact of the matter is, looking at the recent EU elections, and you're not seeing this being commented on by the corporate media, there is a nationalist revolution sweeping Europe. And that's because the European nations have been looking around at their liberal governments and seeing what's happening to their countries with the influx of migrants, the decline in the standard of living. And so the nationalist revolution is taking off because liberalism really has nothing to offer that they want. And the globalists are out there in force. Hillary Clinton called them the deplorables. Barack Obama called them losers who cling to their Bibles. Jean-Claude Juncker says these populist, nationalists, stupid nationalists in love with their own countries. When I was a kid, love of one's country was considered a good thing. We got to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Anne, before I started using this product, every afternoon my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America, and poor Baltimore, or at least the people who live there. They're having to deal with so much. They're having to deal with that malware that has paralyzed their city computer systems for going on 3 weeks now, I think it is. And of course, they have huge gun violence problem. And apparently last weekend, They had 11 injured, 2 dead. And so Mayor Jack Young has proposed a public fight club. And he basically wants to set up these public boxing rings so that when people have a beef with each other, instead of shooting at each other, they just box it out. And, winner take all. Well, I think it's a little bit out there, and I'll tell you why. Because the loser of the fight in the boxing ring is then motivated to go out and shoot the winner. So, but he's out there saying that, the best man wins and the argument should be over. Maybe it'll work. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure at all. Until the social pressures, the economic pressures are taken off the population, there's going to be conflict. And so we have all these people out there trying to deal with the symptoms because they can't fix the causes. Okay, so getting on down to Broward County, Scott Peterson has been arrested. This is the guy who refused to go into the school building in Parkland, Florida in February of last year. And they're arresting him, multiple counts of child neglect, culpable negligence, and perjury. And apparently the charges carry a combined maximum prison sentence of nearly 97 years. And it sounds really good because a lot of people were very angry with this guy for not going on in and doing his job. But there is a fly in the ointment on this one. They may get him on the perjury, but there's a legal precedent regarding the others. Courts have ruled on numerous occasions that the police are actually under no legal obligation to intervene into a violent crime. And it's been ruled time and time again in many courts all across the country. And all Peterson's lawyers have to do is say, these are the precedents. The courts have said he was not obligated to walk on in to this dangerous situation. Now, we wish it was otherwise, obviously. We believe that's what we pay the police to do. But I think Scott, I think they'll nail him on the perjury charges, and he'll get off on the others, on those other earlier precedents. Or maybe they're going to set a new precedent, and that would be a good thing. All right, let's take a phone call from Marjorie in California. Aloha, Marjorie. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, I just wanted to let the people know, your audience know, that in the last few days, Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders went on Spanish-speaking stations, and they said they were for the open borders, encouraging more people to come in, and they talk against Trump, and Bernie Sanders says he's treasonous, and they were putting, Kamala Harris also put Trump down, that she thought he was bad as far as not trying to close the borders. So I just want to let you know that they're trying to influence the people who are not educated. They listen to the Spanish stations, so now for them to think that Trump is bad. So if they come over across the border, they're going to hate Trump.
Yeah, that's the Democrats' plan.
Yeah. Well, they're influencing the Spanish-speaking people and encouraging them to come, for more of them to come across, because they're for open borders.
Oh, boy. I'm a little disappointed in Bernie Sanders about that one. I'm not surprised about Kamala Harris with that one. But again, everybody is just out for their own immediate game. And it seems like nobody is really thinking about the long-term consequences of any of this stuff. Maybe it's because they all know the party is about to come to an end. And so why think about 10 years into the future? Because this country won't be here 10 years into the future, which I think there's a very good possibility that will be the case.
Yes, it'll be quite different.
Well,
You know,
we're going to be in the process of,
than what we know.
yeah, we're going to be in the process of trying to form a new country, and like the Russian republics, kick out the oligarchs and turn the purpose of the government back to taking care of the people in the country, not the bankers, and certainly not any foreign power.
Yes.
Okay?
Well,
All right,
I
well,
just
listen.
wanted to let you know.
All right, well,
that's
thank you,
horrible.
Marjorie. I would love to see a video of that. And we're going to let you go. We got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to talk about the world of computers here. And Apple just had their developers conference in which they unveiled a whole new line of products. The top end, of course, was the new Mac Pro. which is a $6,000 machine, and it basically, the monitor for it is $5,000. And people are already making fun of the case design on the computer itself because it looks like a giant cheese grater. And people were stunned because the stand that holds the monitor, just the stand on your desk holding that $5,000 monitor up, goes for $1,000. And I think Apple has really lost touch with the current U.S. economy because people just they're not going to go for that. And maybe they're aiming this solely at the corporate market. But $1,000 for a monitor stand? I mean, talk about arrogance. Anyway, Apple CEO Tim Cook is out there denying his company is a monopoly following revelations that a Federal Trade Commission investigation was in the works into his company and others, which critics say have too much power. And they do have a lot of power. The problem is they abused it. So in an interview with CBS, Cook said Apple did not control a majority in any market, and that while he welcomes scrutiny, he disagrees with the suggestion that he should split up parts of the business. And of course, all of those companies took a major stock hit when that news came on out. And adding to their troubles, apps developers are now suing Apple, alleging anti-competitive behavior. So 2 app developers, Donald Cameron and Pure Sweat Basketball, filed a lawsuit against Apple in California federal court, alleging that Apple engages in anti-competitive practices. The plaintiffs claim that limiting the purchase and download of apps to just the App Store stifles developers. And, well, there's a reason why Apple does that, and that's so that bogus versions of the apps with malware don't pop up on other websites. Now, the App Store demands 30% commissions on all app purchases, plus a $99 yearly fee from the developers just to qualify for on-platform software sales. Apple also artificially regulates minimum and maximum price points for the apps, according to the lawsuit. Now, a little bit of good news. Apple is about ready to release iOS 13 for the iPhone and the iPad. And on the iPhone, they have finally caught up with the bane of robocalls. And so there's going to be an option called Silence Unknown Callers. And if it's turned on, iOS will use Siri intelligence to allow calls to ring your phone from numbers in contacts, mail, and messages. All other calls are automatically sent to voicemail. So, yeah, that would be a really, really good thing. Okay, let's take a phone call here. Oh, he dropped. All right, be that way. See if I care. Over the weekend, as you probably are already aware, there was a major internet outage focused a lot on Google Cloud, Gmail, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, portions of Amazon. Now, Google owns the Nest brand, which is key to smart home functionality. During the outage, people were literally locked out of their own homes, and many were unable to control home appliances such as air conditioners or lights. Now, it turns out the smart home is a dumb idea, because apparently what is going on is when you use your device to access smart appliances, smart locks, and whatever, it has to go on out to the cloud and then come on back. Now, the only reason that I can think they're doing that is it's another form of surveillance. You know, oh, Michael just got home. Claire's cooking dinner. And I don't understand why smart homes have to have their data outside the home. So I would never have one of those anyway. I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy. I'll walk over to the switch and turn it on if I need a light here. Facebook's lawyers are saying users have no expectation of privacy. They're getting ready to basically fend off some major lawsuits regarding the acquisition and misuse of Facebook users' data. And in this day and age, of course, you've got to be very careful what you put on out there. You shouldn't put any personal information out there. It makes you a target. Now, Todd Hazelton is out with a story saying that Google actually parses Gmail for financial transactions. Basically, for your online purchasing history from third-party outside vendors, and apparently they've been doing it since 2012. And Google has been saving years of information on the purchases in order. Well, Google says it doesn't use this information to sell you ads. Well, then why are they keeping it? Just insane here. As one of our callers mentioned earlier in the show, YouTube has gone on a massive purge of thousands of videos and channels for advocating what they describe as bigoted ideologies, or claim Jews secretly control the world, videos that deny well-documented violent events like the Holocaust took place, videos that say women are intellectually inferior to men and therefore should be denied certain rights, or suggest the white race is superior to another race. And apparently multiple channels, not just the videos, but the channels were deleted. Now, I just checked, and I guess I passed muster because my channel is still up. All right, Amazon has applied for a new patent, and it signals a change in the way their Alexa operates. Now, right now, you have to say, "Hey, Alexa," that's the wake-up phrase. And at that point, Alexa starts recording what you say and sends it off to Amazon servers so that voice recognition can determine what it is you're talking about. And then it sends information back to Alexa to respond to what you said. So far, so good. The new patent is so that you can talk to Alexa and use her name at the end, like, you know, what time is the movie starting, Alexa? But that means that Alexa is listening and transmitting information all the time. Now, I do have Siri, and I do have it turned on because the electronics in our car require it, and I don't feel like turning it off and turning it on every time I go for a drive. But if I'm doing something like with Claire or whatever, I put the iPhone and the watch in another room here. Okay, Secretary of State and former head of the Central Intelligence Agency, Mike Pompeo, who once admitted that the CIA lies, cheats, and steals, is now out there saying that intelligence agencies occasionally make mistakes, but they should still be trusted and taken at their word. Too late, Mike. We all remember the Bay of Pigs. So in the interview, Pompeo claims that U.S. intelligence agencies are correct in considering Huawei a national security threat. And that is a claim that has stood at odds with some of Washington's European allies. And Pompeo said there's no doubt intelligence community gets things wrong, but the overall body of work is excellent and has to be relied upon and trusted. Well, this has nothing to do with the national security threat. The NSA has bored so many back doors in all of our appliances, it's wide open. We don't need to worry about Huawei coming in. What this is about is market share. Huawei is just banging on ahead with 5G technology. They did sign that huge contract for Russia. That is a major, major market. And the American companies can't keep up. They rested on their 4G laurels for a long time and figured, yeah, well, you know, when 5G comes along, you know, we'll put out a bunch of stories about how 5G is going to melt your brain, it's going to make you sterile, you know, we'll keep the American people happy on their 4G cell phones. Well, the real world is catching up with them, and now they're in a panic because Huawei has a better product at a lower price. The recipe for success. And the U.S. can't change that, so they're going to arm twist these other countries. Don't use Huawei, use our companies. Just like they're trying to arm twist other countries not to buy Russian or Chinese weapons, but to buy from American arms developers. It's kind of a very thuggish, almost mafia-esque way of conducting business. Now, yesterday we reported on the fact that the FBI has amassed a collection of 640 million photos to be used for a massive facial recognition system, so that when they get a photo of a suspect, they'll run it through this system and the identity of the miscreant will pop on out. Well, there are some U.S. lawmakers who are saying there needs to be a nationwide moratorium on facial recognition technology. And they're pointing out the same problem I am. The high failure rate, the high false positives, mass wrongful arrest, privacy violations. So speaking before a House Oversight and Reform Committee, Government Accountability Office Representative Greta Goodwin revealed that the FBI had access to these photos, including 36 million mugshot photos, 21 state driver's license directories. And apparently the lawmakers hadn't been paying attention. It took them entirely by surprise. So hopefully they'll try and do something about it, because this technology should not be deployed. Well, being a private person, I don't think it should be deployed at all. But it certainly should not be deployed when it's still not robust, when it still makes mistakes. Okay. Poor Boeing. If it's not one thing, it's another. And apparently the FAA is now saying that the 787 may have problems with its braking and steering functions on landing. And Boeing has been handed an airworthiness directive by regulators who have identified serious safety flaws in these jets. According to the FAA, the tires and wheels of the recently launched 787-9 and 787-8 could be susceptible to damage, which could result in a loss of braking on one main landing gear truck. That would spin the plane around. Student pilots call that a ground loop. They could lose nose wheel steering and loss of direction control on the ground when below rudder effectiveness speed. I think the stockholders need to take a very good look at Boeing's senior management, because I understand the desire for profitability and value engineering, but you're talking about passenger jets, which are very expensive items to begin with, and you're talking about people's lives. Over in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Ebola outbreak has reached 2,000 cases, and the rate of infection is accelerating rapidly. It is now considered the second worst outbreak of the disease in history, and of course, efforts to get it under control and deal with it are complicated by these attacks by rebel groups. And of course, we have people from Congo coming across our southern border. And another little warning, another little warning about getting a second opinion. Over in Kottayam Medical College, there was a woman in Kerala, and she's been undergoing chemotherapy and radiation after tests conducted at a Dianova Laboratories wrongly diagnosed her of having cancer. I went through that one myself when I was in the hospital some year back. The first diagnosis was I had cancer. Turned out not to be true. But the damage is already done. She's lost all of her hair. She suffered the devastating effects of the chemotherapy. If I were a doctor, and Mom always wanted me to be one, if I get back a diagnosis that says cancer, I'm going to send it in and say, I want a second test. Remember, the third leading cause of death in this country is medical mistakes, according to Johns Hopkins. Now, you'll never hear that on corporate media because you're supposed to believe the doctors are good. You're supposed to believe the treatments are safe. Over in Oakland, California, they have become the second city to decriminalize magic mushrooms. Now, that's the good news. California now wants to be the first state to mandate vaccines for adults with criminal penalties for those who refuse. Talk about living in a dictatorship. Oh, boy. Now, not too long ago, there was a mining dam collapse down in Brazil, in Brumadinho. And here we are just 4 months later, and another community in the southeastern state of Minas Gerais is looking at the same problem. There's this huge dam filled with mining waste, and it looks like it's collapsing. And they're just watching what's going on, and mining company Vale, which owns the complex, warned last week the embankment could collapse at any time. So, too many shortcuts here. Alrighty, we're coming up here on our last commercial break for today's show. We'll be back with the last segment of our show after these few words.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll-free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, last segment of our program today. And it is snowing in Queensland, Australia, which is typically a subtropical environment. And apparently Australia's Bureau of Meteorology told BBC News the snow is a rare sight. Gosh darn that human-caused global warming. Okay, Joe Biden is out there and he's pushing, controlling the climate. He's got a climate plan. It's going to cost $1.7 trillion. And Biden says there's no greater challenge facing our country and our world. And he's going to pay for it all by reversing Trump's tax cuts. Okay, we've got one last caller on the line. James in Canada, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, yeah, thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine.
Okay, there's been 2 Canadians, at least, that have been detained in China.
Yes.
Regarding this Huawei thing. And according to my sources here, who are Chinese, it's been reported in the Chinese newspapers that they're being tortured, and I wondered if you heard anything about that.
I heard absolutely nothing about that, and it would be a very stupid thing for China to be doing. I think it's probably more fake news.
It's reported in the Chinese papers, not in the English papers.
Okay, and how do you know? Do you read Chinese?
Yeah, I read Chinese, but I've heard it from 2 independent sources, and I checked today. And I will go look for the articles myself in the next while.
Okay, confirmation would be nice, but it would be a very, very stupid thing for China to be doing right now.
Okay, well, anyway, I thought I'd let you have that, and thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you very much, and we're going to let you go. Now, the United States Navy has developed this electromagnetic railgun, and they've had some tests where they fired a projectile that exceeds Mach 6. And all of a sudden, scientists are saying, you know, that is powerful enough to lift cargo off of the moon into orbit around the moon for bringing back to Earth. That's assuming that we find something on the moon that is worth all that trouble in the first place. But the trick is going to be able to build a container able to survive the impulse of the railgun with an onboard rocket to circularize the trajectory into an orbit. Otherwise, the projectile will just come back down and hit someplace else on the moon. That was the one part they could never get to work with the HARP gun, the High Altitude Research Project guns. Let's see. They've had a major breakthrough on batteries. This is coming from Germany. And as you know, for an electric car, that battery is the most expensive component. So this development will supposedly allow a greater energy density and a lower cost. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Okay, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of there and get something useful done with the rest of the day. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please talk to your friends and tell them about Republic Broadcasting. Tell them about whatreallyhappened.com. We need to start an outreach program to bring in a much larger audience and just try and spread the truth out through our society. So thanks again to everybody who's donated. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.